Congratulations! You have just been selected for an interview. In the ocean of vacancies published every day on multiple channels, this one caught your eye, like a scuba diver probing the bottom of the sea for treasure and suddenly seeing his eyes drawn to something. You came across this ad in the middle of your job search, the job of your dreams. You are extremely motivated to get it. When you read the job description, you recognize yourself. This job is for you. From the organization's perspective, this position needs to be filled urgently, whether newly created or vacant for some time. Your future employer has also immersed himself or herself, alone or supported by your team, in hundreds of applications in search of the rare pill. Your application has caught the attention of the recruiters. Now you are about to have a crucial interview. This interview is the opportunity for the employer to get to know you better. With this interview confirmation, you are on your way to a new job. It is important to put all the chances on your side by preparing yourself to give your best. As with learning any skill, successful interviews require preparation and practice. There will be no second chance to make a good first impression. Here are some tips on how to get through the interview with flying colors. Learning about the company and the interview itself is a great advantage before stepping into the ring. Here are some things you should know about the company. What kind of services or products does the company or organization provide? Do they have a parent company, divisions, or subsidiaries? How many people are employed, and what are the assets and revenues of the organization or the company? Who are the main competitors? In addition, here is what you need to know about your job interview. The type of interview you will have. Is it a panel interview or an individual interview? How long will this interview take? Will you take a test on site? Make sure you have clear and precise indications of where the interview will take place, whether face-to-face or virtual. The advice I am going to give you covers the basic aspects of interviewing and is equally valid for the non-for-profit sector, the public sector, and the private sector. I hope they will teach you one or two things. Here are my recommendations for a successful interview, from visiting the organization to sending a thank you note. So follow these steps and maximize your chances of making the interview a success. First, it sounds basic, but be on time. Punctuality is essential and helps to give an impression of professionalism. It is even better to be early, which means being there or online to test your connectivity 5 to 10 minutes before the interview starts. It is also very useful to quickly soak up, the atmosphere, to familiarize yourself with the place, the organization. Bring a pen and notebook with you. Make some search about the organization. It is important to know what your target company has done in the past before you hear it from your interviewer. By looking at the company's website, you will become familiar with its vision, mission, and latest results. Possibly find out what the media says about it. And of course about, its teams. You will feel more comfortable. This will allow you to project yourself, because when you meet your future employers, when you shake their hands, you will legitimately ask yourself, does this job motivate me? Do I see myself in this organization for long term? Will I feel comfortable with these people, their clients, their partners or stakeholders? Whereas your future manager or the panel members will ask themselves, does this candidate have the ability to do this job? Will she or he do it? Will she or he fit into the culture of the organization? Will there be a good chemistry with this new entry? It sounds superficial, but first impressions are important. So dress corporately. Sounds obvious? But the outfit you wear to your next job interview is more important than you think. Why? Whether you like it or not, your appearance is the first thing that people notice about you. Dress professionally and in an appropriately way for the job you are applying for. It is also a sign of respect and consideration. Practice. As with all skills you have learned, you need to learn the technique and then practice, practice, and practice. To do this, I invite you to print or complete directly on the screen, save paper please and save trees, the sheet called self-evaluation. Take the time, to introduce yourself in 3 or 4 sentences. Think of it as your hero's journey or your pitch elevator. Who are you? How do you define yourself? What adjectives best describe you professionally? It is understood that these few sentences are only a very brief summary of your qualities and of strengths or weaknesses. Take time to write down in black and white your reasons for applying for this job. Why did you apply? What do you know about the organization, about this job? In light of the job description, what are your strengths? What are your potential weaknesses? And how can you turn your shortcomings into assets? You have now gathered all the information about the organization. Using this information, what is your vision of the position within the organization? To prepare yourself further, do not hesitate to ask what type of interview you will have. Is it an individual interview or one-to-one series? Is it a panel interview? How many panel members will be there? Can their names be shared with you? This will give you a tactical idea of the perspective when answering their questions. Practice good communication, verbal and non-verbal. The body has its language. Pay attention to your posture, as it says a lot about what you're feeling or what you're thinking. A good posture, upright, without being rigid. Eye contact with the person asking you a question, especially in remote interviews. Make sure that the framing is well centered, that your face is not cut off, that the lighting is sufficient and not against the light. If the interview is a face-to-face one, greet the panel members with a firm handshake. All these details will leave a positive impression. Are you an introvert by nature? Make sure your voice is steady and hold the interviewer's gaze. If you are an extroverted person, make sure you allow time for each answer and respect the timing. Try to be clever about showing what you know about the company or the organization when answering questions. Slip in a few things you found on the site. When you ask about your professional achievements, make sure they match what the organization is looking for in its question. If necessary, rephrase the question. If you are unsure, to make sure that you understand it correctly. Write it down, if necessary, to give you a few seconds to build your answer. Be careful about answering certain questions. When recruiters ask you for an example of a time when you did something, they ask behavioral questions. They are designed to get an example of your past behavior. If you fail to give a specific example, not only are you not answering the question, but you are also missing the opportunity to probe on your ability and talk about your skills. The STAR model will help you to construct an appropriate response or answer to this type of questions. What is the STAR model? S like situation. The interviewer wants to know about the situation you found yourself in that was challenging for you. How did you react? Did you overcome the challenge? T for task. What task did you have to perform in your previous jobs? What did you accomplish? And what objective did you meet? The interviewer is looking for insight into your sense of purpose in short term. A for action. The interviewer is looking for information. What did you do? Why did you do it? And what were the alternatives? How did you react to a given situation? What actions did you take to achieve your goals? R for results. What was the result of the actions you took? What did you do to achieve as a result of your actions? And did you reach your short, medium, and long-term objectives? Use the START template to rework your CV. For each position you held, what was the situation when you arrived, and what were your priority tasks? What actions did you take to achieve your objectives? What were your results, and for how long? As a candidate, is it wise to ask questions? Asking questions also allows you, in turn, to probe your interviewers and confirm whether you feel comfortable with them or not. But be careful what questions you ask. The best questions come from listening to what has been said during the interview and asking for more information. Again, do not hesitate to take notes and to come back to points made that give, rise to relevant questions on your part. Last but not least, follow up. A thank you note reiterating your interest in the position is never a bad thing. If you think it is appropriate, send a thank you note. An email is sufficient within 24 hours of your interview. In addition to being tactful, this follow-up can also be a good indication of the status of your application. And now, here are some common mistakes you should avoid. Arriving late. Notify the organization if you encounter transport or connection challenges. Attitude or behavior. Do not get too comfortable by sinking into a chair nonchalantly. Wait for the panel members to signal you to sit down. Or, if remotely, make sure the frame is well centered. Note that drinking a glass of water during the interview is allowed. So keep a bottle and a glass nearby. As well as the pen and paper, will allow you to prepare the best, answer while thinking of it. Not taking the interview seriously. Do not make the mistake of thinking that the interview is just a formality. Even if all the previous steps of the selection process went well, do not think that the deal is done. The biggest mistake you can make is to think that because you have made it so far, you have the job. This overconfidence could be seen as an overestimation of your abilities. Not showing why you are the best choice. Familiarize yourself with the job description of the position you are interviewing for, so that you can illustrate how your experience, abilities, and strengths match the company's needs. Many potential employers want to know why they should hire you specifically. Make this clear to them in your answers, so that print out the job description before the interview, read it again, and compare the skills and behaviors with your background, achievements, and vision for the job and the organization. Talking too much. Be careful not to cut off your interviewers. This meeting should be a two-way conversation, and many candidates hide their nervousness by becoming talk active. Sit quietly, listen carefully, and answer questions thoughtfully. Take time to rephrase or write down the questions if this helps you to articulate your answer. Making negative comments about former employers or teachers or simply about other people. Even if you hated your former boss or your former colleagues, and if you felt you were treated unfairly by your former employer, a job interview is not the place to launch into a litany of complaints. Do not talk about money during the interview. The subject of salary will come up at the right time. Follow your interviewer. They may save it for a later conversation. Keep in your mind your salary expectations related to your previous positions and performance. Make sure, however, that you have received the essential information on this subject. I hope that these tips and mistakes to avoid will help you, and I wish you once again good luck with your upcoming interviews and hopefully your new professional adventure.